It's official now. This team is not good enough, and as their playoff dreams continue to dwindle by the second, we're going to break down every team's playoff odds and how I think the Rangers may end up falling backwards accidentally into this year's Stanley Cup playoffs and why, and we're going to break it down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, another loss, a third loss in a row, in fact, and all of them at home on this homestand, and it's not looking good for the New York Rangers. And we're going to take a look at the standings in a second, because waking up this morning, waking up a couple days ago, if you're a Rangers fan, not looking bad. Not looking bad. You got a great opportunity. Waking up today and looking at the standings, things are looking real tough. It's looking like a bit of a nightmare. We're going to get into it, but first I want to start with this. Some love from Ty Domi, former Rangers enforcer, for Sam Rosen. And again, Sam Rosen, sir, if you by any chance happen to see this, I am so sorry, sir, that they are doing this to you in your final year. You deserve to be able to call a Stanley Cup final in your final year, and it's very unfortunate. But from Snark Messier, we're closing in on 10 games left with Sam Rosen as the voice of the New York Rangers, the voice of the New York Rangers, right? And this is truly such an absolutely horrific way for him to end his illustrious Hall of Fame career. What a shame, and it truly is. And they were talking about it on the Sportsnet broadcast as well last night, that, you know, this is a absolute first ballot, A+ Hall of Famer, and it's so unfortunate that he has to go out with this way, with the team playing like this in his final year. But let's get into it. I've been talking the last little while, and listen, I've been very complimentary of obviously Coach Peter Laviolette this season, almost the entire season. And I said, guys, they're not going to fire him. He's actually making some decent decisions. There is a rhyme and a reason for some of the things that he's doing, right? This I can't agree with anymore. It's over. I don't know if this guy is going to be back next year, because it just doesn't work with the dynamic of the team. Brett Berard and Brennan Othmann playing under 7 minutes last night is asinine. It's unbelievable that, you know, some of the players on your best lines are sitting at this point. It's unbelievable. Brennan Othmann, I thought there was a couple shifts, and Brett Berard, the only guys doing anything, like forechecking at least, right? Like playing hungry and wanting the puck and trying to create chances. Maybe it's not, they're not converting, but they're the only ones that kind of look like they are at least. And obviously skill can carry you so far. We've seen it with Panarin, Zibanejad, obviously JT Miller. Skill will carry you to a point, but these guys are the guys putting in the work. And the fact that they're playing under 7 minutes is absolutely insane to me, especially with Berard being one of the only guys that's actually throwing and finishing his checks. Unbelievable to me in a game that, you know, coming into it, you're like, if you lose this game because of the fact that the Islanders were playing the Montreal Canadiens last night, huge playoff implications around the league, and you find yourself in a tough position. So the fact that these guys only played 7 minutes each is unbelievable. And as you saw off the intro there, JT Miller, I mean, it's either him or Vincent Trocheck as the next captain. JT Miller, look, everyone's huddled around here. Also, go back and watch the video clip. The clip is on Twitter. I'll play it in a second again. Pay close attention. This is kind of what I was paying attention to. I know JT Miller's leading the way here. Pay very close attention to who's listening and who's not on the bench, right? Who's zoned in and who's not. That's all I'm saying. Just pay attention to who's actually listening to what JT Miller's trying to say, because he's trying to get a job done here. And I don't think a lot of guys on the bench there are listening and are even locked in. So maybe not specifically in this shot, but I would like to see a couple more guys actually locked in going forward. So that was one thing that I saw, especially as the camera, you know, decided to zoom in. Mika was locked in, I have to say, and he's been playing better, right, the last 2 months or so, but it's just not good enough as a team. It's just absolutely not good enough. And I mean, Panarin's been great, right? He's on a point streak right now. He's been playing great, but obviously a bit of a one-dimensional player. The team defensively looks like a mess at times. You know, Panarin's great. Hopefully he retires here, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to start looking at trading him, because he is getting a bit older. They can get a lot for him, and he doesn't fit the timeline, I don't think, of this team anymore, because I don't even think this team's going to make the playoffs anymore at this point, this year, right? Like, you got to start looking at retooling to become a playoff team again, and I don't know if he fits the timeline with some of the younger guys that they're going to have to bring in. So it's going to be very interesting to keep tabs on that. And another guy who's struggling, I mean, he has been playing better as of late, but it's the little things. It's the, you know, playing simple, keeping it simple, right? And things that guys get shipped out of town for not doing, Keandre Miller is doing, right? Like, or the opposite, I should say. He's not keeping it simple. And sometimes it's the little things, it's the fine details of the game that he gets caught lacking. And this is another one. Out of the corner, I mean, he's slow to pick up his man, Bobby McMann, in the corner off of the face-off. And then he doesn't follow him to the net. He's slow to cover him again. He gets the tip. This is a late period goal after you just tied the game. These are backbreakers. You hate to let these in. And it happened last night because McMann is able to get in front of Shesterkin. Shots that are tipped are very hard to stop, right? Shesterkin came up big in the last game. Didn't have the greatest game last night, but at times made some big saves, right? But still, you have to help out your goaltender or else you have no shot. It doesn't matter who's in net. Your goaltender can only steal you or try to keep you in so many games in a season, right? It's just the fact of the matter. So I don't like the Shesterkin slander. I don't, and I think it has more to do with the defense, the defensive structure, and the deployment of players. Too many guys are playing too much, and some of the guys who are actually trying and throwing hits and trying to make a difference are not playing enough. And speaking of one, Will Cooley, he's made his way up from the third line all the way to the first line at times this season. He's second in the NHL on hits. Since JT Miller came over, he's been playing fantastic. I love his game. I mean, he's been great all season, honestly, but he's been playing great since JT Miller came over. I just wanted to give him a shout that, he's going to need a new contract as well. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on with the New York Rangers. How much is he going to make? What the contract looks like in terms of term as well. So second in the NHL on hits. He's having a career year in terms of point production, goals, all of that. So it's going to be interesting to see what he ends up making as well. And in terms of the defensive structure and all of that too, before we wrap up here, I thought this was interesting from David that, the forwards like to blow the zone a lot too, especially when the defense have the puck. And it's hard for the defense, who are struggling in their own right, to move the puck up to the forwards, right? Because look at the gap here, and look how the Leafs have two players in the middle of the ice there ready to intercept the pass that comes through. And they have a forechecker, right? Forechecking the defense. So the Rangers are not doing these things on offense themselves. And then when it comes to, moving it up out of the defensive zone and getting it to the forwards are not doing their job either. I mean, look how high everybody is. Everyone's at the blue line, and the puck's not there yet, and the puck's about to get intercepted here on the top left of your screen. So it's unbelievable what has been happening. Again, before we wrap up, this is the current playoff pitcher. Whoever finishes in that, it looks like Ottawa. Things are very tight at this point in time. There's a lot of things going on in terms of games in hand, and it's getting very interesting with whoever's going to finish in the wild card spot, because I thought Ottawa was going to run away with it. They are very close actually to getting a divisional spot. They're not that far behind, but they're running out of games. But I'm thinking it's a battle here for the last wild card spot, and it's going to be an interesting one for whoever gets the right to play the Washington Capitals, who have been fantastic this year, a very heavy team and, tough team to play against. So the Rangers have fallen out here, and you got the Blue Jackets right behind you. Now you're losing the games in hand game because you had those games in hand. You squandered them, right? So now you're in an even worse position. You have 71 points, and then 72 points, excuse me. You tied with the New York Islanders, who've now jumped over you, which is brutal because it looked like they're out of it as well. The Montreal Canadiens have jumped over you. They're now in a playoff spot. It's just mind-boggling that the Rangers have allowed this to happen, especially with some of the matchups that they've had. But let me know what you think in the comments about everything we discussed today. I don't know if Peter Laviolette is long for this team after this season. I don't think he's going to get fired before the season ends, but I don't think he's long for this team after this season because of the direction that they're taking the team and the personnel on the ice. But let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.